Today, we're going to crack open the private journal of one of the most powerful men who ever lived, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. We're going to dive into the surprisingly modern advice he wrote for himself in his famous book, The Meditations.
So picture this. From 1601 to 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius wasn't just some big shot. He was literally the most powerful man on the planet. He was running the entire Roman Empire at its absolute peak, the last of a line of rulers we call the Five Good Emperors. But what's so amazing is that it's not his power as an emperor that we still talk about today. It's the power of his mind.
I mean, really think about that for a second. This is a guy who could have anything he wanted. All the money, all the fame, all the pleasure. But for him, true happiness wasn't any of that stuff. It was all about your inner character, your intentions, your choices, your actions. That's it.
And that brings us to the huge paradox of his life. You see, his time as emperor was anything but peaceful. It was just a constant storm of war, disease, and betrayal. So how on earth did a guy surrounded by complete chaos manage to find such a deep sense of inner peace? Well, the answer is in his philosophy. To really get his philosophy, we have to first understand the insane pressure he was under. He wasn't just writing these things from some comfy office, he was writing from the absolute heart of the storm. At his core, he was a deep thinker, a philosopher, but his day job? Emperor of Rome. He couldn't just sit around and think about the universe. He had to lead armies, manage this massive empire, and basically hold the entire Roman world together.
And his reign was just relentlessly brutal. I mean, look at this timeline. The second he gets the top job, it's just one crisis after another. There's a huge war in the east. Then a devastating plague wipes out millions. Then constant invasions on the northern border. The guy never got a break.
And this wasn't just, political stress. This was deeply personal. He was dealing with famine, the betrayal of a general he trusted completely, the absolute heartbreak of losing several of his own children, and on top of all that, knowing his only surviving son and heir, Commodus, was, let's just say, not the right guy for the job.
So it's in this insane environment, often in a military tent on the front lines of a war, that he wrote to himself. The Meditations wasn't a book for you and me. It was his personal playbook for survival. It was his way of coaching himself through it all. So what was this philosophy that gave him such incredible strength?
Okay, so the system that Marcus used to get through all this chaos was an ancient Greek philosophy called Stoicism. And for him, this was not some abstract academic thing. It was a practical, hands-on guide for living a good life. At its heart, Stoicism is really all about using your reason to find peace and purpose. The goal isn't to become some emotionless robot, but to understand what's actually causing you distress so you can live a good, virtuous life in tune with the world around you. And this right here is probably the most important idea in all of Stoicism. It's the dichotomy of control. The Stoics basically said that most of our unhappiness comes from trying to control things we simply can't. They argued we should pour every ounce of our energy into the things we can control, our own thoughts, our own choices, our own actions, and just learn to accept everything else as it happens.
So, a few core ideas shaped his whole outlook. The belief that the universe is this one interconnected system, that we're all in this together, kind of like coworkers, and this is a big one, that external things like money or reputation aren't actually good or bad. They're neutral. The only thing that's truly good is a virtuous character, and that is always, always in your control.
So that's the theory. But how did Marcus actually use these ideas day to day? Well, his private journal gives us this incredible, direct window into his mind as he's wrestling with all these challenges in real time.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't a lecture. It's raw, it's personal, it's filled with these practical exercises. He's basically acting as his own coach, his own therapist, constantly reminding himself of his principles whenever he's feeling frustrated or angry, or even starting to despair.
Okay, here's a problem we can all relate to, right? Whether it's a coworker driving you crazy or just some rude person at the store, dealing with difficult people is part of life. So, what was the advice from the most powerful man in the world?
It's so simple, but it's so powerful. He's reminding himself that if you let someone else's bad behavior make you bitter or angry, well, then they've won. The real victory is holding on to your own character and just refusing to let them drag you down to their level.
So, Marcus knew that every single day was going to bring some kind of annoyance. He couldn't stop that from happening, but he could prepare his mind for it. And he had this very specific mental exercise he did every single morning. He would literally start his day by thinking about all the annoying, ungrateful, and meddling people he was probably going to run into. Now, he wasn't being negative, he was being strategic. He was building up his mental resilience. By expecting these frustrations, he took away their power to surprise him and throw him off his game. He was ready for them. But what about that real, deep sense of peace? Surrounded by war, politics, death, where did he find his sanctuary? It wasn't in some fancy palace or a quiet country state. And this was his ultimate superpower. He realized that peace isn't a place you go to, it's a state of mind you create. He knew that no matter how chaotic things got on the outside, he could always retreat into the fortress of his own mind, his inner citadel, to find quiet, to find clarity, to find strength. It's just incredible when you think about it. The private notes of an emperor from almost 2,000 years ago are still so ridiculously relevant today. But I guess that's because his struggles, well, they're human struggles. They're timeless. And so is his wisdom. And the amazing part is, we can use these exact same lessons in our own lives. We can practice separating what we can control from what we can't. We can build our own inner citadel to retreat to. And we can remember that we're all connected, that we have a duty to help each other, and that we've got to live with purpose right now, because life is short.
The fact that a book he never ever wanted anyone to read has become a lifeline for millions of people, from presidents and CEOs to athletes and artists, that just says it all. It shows us that the core challenges of being a good human being, they don't really change all that much.
So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. His problems were monumental. We're talking war, plague, betrayal, the whole shebang. If he could use these simple tools to find peace on a literal battlefield, just imagine what we could do with them in our own lives.